So the last case is Long Day's Journey, and this is about his posthumous Renaissance, which you know came, I guess, a little late for O'Neill, but he his play Long Day's Journey Tonight, which he had written in 1943, roughly at Dow House, which we've talked about before, heavily autobiographical, very difficult experience for him. He put in his will that he did not want it performed, and also we have a document with Random House, a contract saying that they would keep it under wraps, so they would not publish it until 25 years after his death. However, Carlotta was really dead set on getting that play out to the public. Random House refused, so she, being the literary executor, took it to Yale University Press, and they agreed to do it, and Random House knew in the end they could not stop her. And so we have a contract here with Yale University Press about publishing that play. And she awarded the premiere to happen at the Royal Dramatic Theatre in Stockholm, Sweden. Sweden had long time been a big place for O'Neill plays, and he had felt that they did his plays correctly, and so she awarded it to them. We have a photograph from that premiere, and then it came to the U.S. shortly thereafter. It was a huge success. It really started a O'Neill Renaissance for the next 10 years or so, I would say, from the about 1957 to 67, because there were other plays coming out as well, other posthumous works, including Huey. We have a playbill here from the 1964 production of that with Jason Robards. Robards became really a very important actor of O'Neill's after he was gone. And A Touch of the Poet, we have a 2005 playbill, all signed by the cast here. That premiered in 1958. This was the only play that survived in his planned cycle of plays that he wanted to write in the 30s and 40s that would follow a family history from the colonial times to the 1930s and really tell the story of America in the meantime. Sad part is he and Carlotta burned and destroyed almost everything that he did not finish, that he didn't feel was worthy of keeping, and so those last years were also spent kind of destroying the evidence, more or less. But one that was discovered in the papers at Yale was More Stately Mansions, which was the sequel to A Touch of the Poet. And it was not quite finished, but finished enough where they put it out in 1967. And we have here a LP set starring Ingrid Bergman, as well as other LP sets from the collection. So you can kind of see the popularity of O'Neill that was happening after he was gone. And Moon for the Misbegotten had a successful revival again, starring Jason Robards, and that one is really considered, I think, that one's from '73. Really considered the quintessential interpretation of it. Jose Quintero was an important director who kind of partnered with Carlotta and in reviving O'Neill. And there is a clipping of an article here he wrote, an essay he wrote from the New York Times Magazine in 1996 about that relationship in bringing, making sure that O'Neill's work really survived and thrived. Yeah, I mean, you can really see how O'Neill's career was having a kind of a second a renaissance, basically, after he was gone. Other things we have here include posters from exhibits And in 1988, we actually they did a centenary celebration here at WashU, including an exhibit and a symposium and a performance of Desire Under the Elms, I believe. And there is a letter here from Annie Chaplin to Harley Hammerman from just after that centennial, which Harley could talk a little bit about.
So in 1988, see, I've been here longer than Joel, and in 1988 we had it was a centennial of O'Neill's birth, and nobody was doing anything in this country. So I got a hold of a man named Henry Chevet, who was just here as the head of the theater department, and a woman named Holly Hall, who was head of special collections at that time, and we decided that we would, put on a conference, and it was successful. There were a lot of all of the O'Neill scholars in the country came to it. I also had an exhibit, not nearly as nice as this, but an exhibit in special collections and a catalog. And somehow or other, somebody got Annie Chaplin. Annie Chaplin was, so Una married Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin was the same age as her father, Eugene O'Neill, and Eugene O'Neill didn't like that. So they became estranged. So they lived in Europe apart from O'Neill. Charlie and Una had 8 children, and they grew up as Charlie Chaplin's children, but they knew nothing about their grandfather, Eugene O'Neill, because they didn't talk about him. So as they grew older, they did find out about him, and Annie is the second youngest, I believe, Annie Chaplin. And she had a boyfriend, a director by the name of Mino D'Amato, and she got him to do O'Neill's, the play we were talking about earlier, Before Breakfast, which it's about a woman who spends the whole play just nagging her husband's off stage, and at the end you see the arm come out and he kills himself. So uplifting play. But in any event, he got her to do this. They did it in somewhere in Italy, in this big cave, and it was a really neat production of it. And they debuted it at our conference, and so they showed it this one night. And afterwards, I'm talking to her. She comes up, and she was hungry to learn everything she could about O'Neill, and she wanted to see the exhibit. So we went to see the exhibit, and I go and open the door, and I didn't open the door because it was locked. It was after 5 o'clock, and special collections was locked for the day. So I called Holly Hall at home. I had her number. She came in. She unlocked the door. So so Annie could go in and look at everything, and it was like she was mesmerized by all the stuff she'd never seen before. And I said I felt like I was her grandfather's jailer. We were opening up so she could go in and look at all this stuff. But in any event, we became friends, and we corresponded a little bit back and forth. And she ended up marrying this guy, and they became very, very philanthropic. And then I lost track of her, and I thought, shoot, why didn't I get a copy of the video, this Before Breakfast video? And I've never been able to track them down to get a copy of that. I keep trying.
Yeah, and I think the one thing this case shows is Harley's, and we talked a little bit about it, including this story, Harley's relationship with family members, with biographers, with other collectors. And I think one of the maybe most important biographers to you personally were the Gelbs. Did you want to talk about them a little bit?
So Arthur and Barbara Gelb, they actually did the very first O'Neill biography. Arthur he had been the theater critic for the Times, and he became the managing editor for the New York Times. And he and Barbara did the first O'Neill biography. And they really didn't have a whole lot to work with at that time, because Carlotta had not made all of the material she had available, which Lou Schaefer had when he wrote his biography. Marlene and I were at an O'Neill conference in Provincetown, and we met the Gelbs. And for whatever reason, they took a liking to us. And the next time we were in New York, Arthur had me to lunch. And then we went to New York at least once a year, sometimes 2 times, 3 times more. And any time we were in New York, they would first have us to their apartment. They lived in a nice apartment, what's it called, the Antwerp, on the upper west side, where a lot of famous people live. They'd have us to their apartment. They'd sit us down. They'd give us wine. They'd always have our sushi and hors d'oeuvres. And if you didn't eat it, Barbara would bring it up and feed it to you. And Then we'd go out to eat somewhere, and they were just wonderful. And we'd talk theater, we'd talk politics, we'd talk children, we'd talk family, and they were like godparents to us. And they took us to an opening of Moon from Misbegotten. Their son is Peter Gelb, who's the managing director for the Metropolitan Opera. We went and sat in his box, and I suffered through an opera. I'm not a big opera fan, but it was really a remarkable experience to know the two of them. They were writing their last biography, which was going to be sort of their pièce de résistance, as they were both getting older, and they're coming sort of to the end of their life. And Arthur dies in 2014 before they could finish it. They were almost finished, and so Barbara persevered on, and we met with her. We had lunch with her in 2016, and I was helping with footnotes or whatever, and I knew that was the last time we'd see her because she was finished the book, and it came out, and in 2017 she died and joined Arthur. But it was they were just wonderful, wonderful people. And I may have dragged Marlene through a lot of dusty bookstores at the beginning of things, but at the end, experiences like that for the two of us were very special.
Well, great. I think that's a good place to end the tour. We want to thank you again for coming, and if you have any questions or comments we could answer at this time, we'd be happy to do that.
What I say again, looking at this, as I collected this over 50 years, I would get something, and then it would be on a bookshelf, or it would be in a file cabinet, or it would be in a drawer, or it would be in a cabinet, and when the first time I saw this was the morning it went up in July. I came on campus and saw it, and it was like, wow, did I really do this? Because I'd never seen it like this, everything all together like this. So, I'm really sad that it's coming down on December the 19th.
Yeah, we got one more week where this will be up. So it's not your last chance, but close. If you're here and you want to take in some before you leave, that'd be great. We have plenty of refreshments as well. But again, if you have any questions or comments that you want us to address, if not, we're happy to stick around and talk individually as well.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.